Good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, many of you have already had the pleasure, or whatever else you think it was, of listening to me earlier. Not going to say anything about myself. That's who I am. All I will say is that I started off as an industrial engineer, found myself a production manager, then found myself a factory manager, then a general manager, before going into training and consultancy. So anything I say about training has always got that production management hat on. You'll never get anything theoretical. Leaping forward the right way. What are we going to be looking at is how you integrate training into business initiatives moving forward, and using implementation of Lean as a vehicle to emphasize some of those points. So, time's pressing. I don't want to go into Roger's time, so we'll move on quickly. Top two there is what always been bashed into me there. And to say, I think money. When I'm looking at a garment industry factory, I think money. Training is a cost. It's not a cost, it's an investment. How would you treat any investment in your business? What is the need? What is the payback? How is it going to work? People are a cost, and not a cost. They're the greatest asset. And as the greatest asset, I was also told that you cannot gain a competitive edge through technology. You can only lose a competitive edge by not using technology, because technology is available to anybody with the dollars. You cannot gain a competitive edge through the purchasing of fabrics and materials, because everybody else is doing the same. The only way you can gain a competitive edge is by how you use your people. That's where you gain your competitive edge, or lose it. So those are two sayings that I hear all the time. But I say, why do we train? To me, you only train because you want somebody to do something for you. No other reason. It's not a social act. It's a business act. We want somebody to do something for us. Therefore, we need to train. They have to have the skills necessary. And this is my favourite quote. Yeah. If you think training's expensive, you try incompetence and see what that costs you. Even down to such things as cost of quality. But you look at it, and we'll be looking at some of the things that, well, incompetence, that's a strong word, but lack of ability. All right, so I was talking this morning about, we were looking at management training, and this goes for all people in the business. When we talk about quality, we talk about fit for purpose. When I talk about people in the business, I talk about fit for purpose. What's their role? How many have got clearly defined roles for every member of the business? On the management side, all the way down. What are their key responsibilities and tasks? I saw an online debate started by Deepak Mahindra, where he was saying that the production people and the industrial engineers are always fighting. Well, I contributed and said, yeah, that's probably because no one's defined their roles. Nobody knows the boundaries. Unless you can define someone's role, their key responsibilities and their tasks, you cannot assess the skills and knowledge they need in order to fulfill that task. If you do that, it's not difficult to put down key skills and some key skills, key knowledge, core skills, core knowledge. It's not difficult. If you actually think of the task, think what they do. And from then you can go on to define standards, KPIs. Yes, they can do the job. I'm not interested in can they do the job. I'm interested in can they do it to this standard. This is what we want. If you do that, then you can go through a whole training needs assessment of your business and actually say, we're going to train, and we're training because we've identified gaps. So I'm going through at a pace, because as I say, we're short on time. So this brings me on to a new business initiative. Whatever it is, you've decided you wanted to improve your business. To improve any business, you need training. But once again, consider it as an investment. But with an investment, what is cost benefit? What are the costs going to be of doing this improvement? What benefits am I going to get? Bottom line. Well, not just bottom line. There's other issues, obviously, as customer satisfaction, which does eventually relate to bottom line. But I say, why implement any business improvement program? You're thinking, I want to improve something. I'm going to implement lean manufacturing. Why? Why? I'm just taking lean as an example. It could be anything. Right. That's a good one. It's a new thing and everybody's doing it. I see everybody else is doing this. I'm going to have to do it. That happens. I see that one. We've got to move forward. Yes, but in what direction? To what purpose? It's a magic cure. We've got problems. This new business initiative. This is the one for us. It's a magic cure. Right? It's like my little friend Sooty. He's an old British puppet. He used to have a magic wand and he would tap it and things would happen. Remember Sooty? In Sweep. Yeah. Okay. The customer demands it. Okay. Do they? Are you absolutely sure? Or the one that really matters. Right. We've given it a great deal of thought. Yeah. We've done the costing. We've done the maths. Yes, we're going to move forward on this. This is the important thing. So I'm going to have to go back. So I'm going to go back one. So let's look at some of these business processes that we're going to do. First thing is, that's the top one. No such thing as one size fits all. When you're improving a business, improving a management, you shouldn't get a packaged answer. There we are, that's the answer. Different cultures, even if you go to garment industry, you're making different products, servicing different customers. So there's no one right, and there's no right and there's no wrong. I train a lot of production managers, particularly on production balancing. And they'll come to me and say, is that the right answer? And the answer is, well, there's not a right, there's not a wrong. There's the best solution that served the purpose at that time. So there's not a right or wrong. If you're going business, what are your business objectives? What are you really trying to achieve? What are your circumstances? I say, do you specialise in short runs? Do you have long runs? What sort of customers are you dealing with? Have you thought, how should this new thinking be integrated into your business? And most importantly of all, any change that you make in your business, is it working profitably? At the end of the day, you've got to come back and say, is it making me money? And training is a key part of it, making sure it works profitably. And I said, I'm a trainer. Yeah. But I don't say train, train, train. I'll go through those. I say profit, profit, profit. So you're going to implement a new management business, new business improvement strategy in your company. And let's think of the factory. Right? Factories make profits by selling SMs. Now the bottom one is, when I was first a young factory manager and I didn't hit my target on Monday, I said, never mind, we'll make it up Tuesday. It's very quickly banged into me, oh no you won't. You'll never pull back what you lost on Monday on Tuesday. Any production you lose, you've lost forever. So you've not only lost that production, which gets you in trouble with the customer, you've lost overhead recovery. It's costing you money. Every time that production line is supposed to do 400 pieces in a day and it does 350, it's cost you money. So therefore, we need to put in improvements and then measure, are they working? I think somebody earlier mentioned about, let's measure everything. Absolutely, that's what you've got to do. Now let's go on to lean manufacturing. Not my definition of lean manufacturing, and I'm not going to argue with the Kaizen Institute. They know better than I do. Far better. Okay? But let's look at the bottom. It says aggressive minimization of waste. Just think, as you're working with lean in your factories, and have you implemented it, are you aggressively minimizing waste? Or are you, oh well, yeah, we've got it in, it's okay, we're going along, we're happy now? Is that business improvement initiative actually working for you? The answer could be yes, the answer could be no. And believe me, I am not anti-lean. Last thing, I believe totally in it. Right? So let's have a look at some of the potential benefits that we're told. Reduction in quality. Well, you can read them. I'm not going to read them. One of my downfalls is that I was taught to speed read, and so I have to make sure I don't flick on too quickly, because I'll read it very quickly. All right. Yeah, these are problems that a lot of companies have. But they'll always say, well, we've got large work in progress, large inventory. But is that actually down to the production floor? Is it not down to some of the pre-production activities? Could well be. Yeah. We've got large work in progress on the factory floor. When you investigate, we're waiting for buttons. So it's not always the factory floor, but it's the factory floor that's visible. During the mid-90s, I was asked, as part of the organisation I worked for, by the British government, to look at modular manufacturing in the UK. Why it had succeeded and why it had failed. And I think it's very relevant to this conversation. And you can see there the progressive, but we went to companies and said, right, give us some of these performance factors when you're on progressive bundle. Now tell us what you're doing on modular. Also ask them what they were doing wrong, and what they found they were doing wrong. And as you can see, by switching to modular, there were some fantastic improvements, business improvements, money. This is real money that they were making. But the comment at the bottom is, you've got to remember, these companies had very, very high efficiencies on progressive bundle systems. As I said, I told the other group, as a factory manager, I was targeted to achieve an 85% efficiency. And don't tell me about style change, I'm not interested. Right. So they weren't looking. The reason they went on to modular was obviously, yes, the market was changed, quick response, but they'd squeezed every last little bit they could out of progressive bundle. We cannot get any better at it. We just can't get any better. You know? Or if we did, it's not cost effective to get more, to get better. The improvements will cost us more than the benefits. Forget it. We've gone as far as we can. What else can we do? Let's go modular. And they had some fantastic success meeting with companies. So it worked. And for modular in the UK, think lean India. But, as with everything, it isn't all joy and wonder. A lot of companies failed. And we asked them why you failed. And we also asked the companies that eventually succeeded what they'd done wrong and why they'd struggled. And this relates a lot to what you're doing. Failure to deliver anticipated results. A lot of the time that was because they were trying to solve problems they didn't really have. Maybe they didn't have high labour turnover. Maybe they didn't have excessively high work in progress. So when they moved on to modular, they didn't achieve fantastic results. It wasn't cost effective. And also, senior management lost interest. Quite often, because of that previous slide, I said, well, why did you do it? Oh, because it was a sexy thing to do. I went to the CEO went to the Cologne sewing machine exhibition and saw a Toyota system. Oh, wonderful, we've got to do that. Right? That's a new thing. Let's do it. without thinking it through for his business, the business never then it never gave them the benefits, oh, forget it. Quick fix didn't work. It wasn't the magic cure. So this is one of the reasons for failure. And I had CEOs telling me this, owning up to this. I had a good relationship with a lot of them, and they were able to tell me. But we didn't change the mindset of both operators, supervisors, managers. Let's just implement it. And they found that it failed. The people had not got the skills to do it. They were not fit for purpose. Another large one, team member selection. Where a team has got to work as a team, and they're interdependent on one another for their salary, and you might have 6 to 8 people in a team, you can have 5 or 6 very strong characters in a team. Doesn't work. They all want to be leader. They all want to drive. They'll fight. The team will break up. Conversely, you go the other way, you'll get 6 to 8 people that just want to come in and work. Oh, I'm happy. You tell me what to do, I'll do it. It doesn't work. You need this mixture. And by using various techniques, and this is one of the things I did at the organisation I work for, we helped with, we actually started putting in operator selection. You don't select by skill, you select by personality in a team. You can give it's easier to give someone a skill than it is to change their personality. Preparation. Oh, we just rushed into it. We didn't think, exactly what system do we want? What's modular manufacturing? You can have it in a straight line, you can have it in an L, you can have it in a U shape, you can stand up, you can sit down. Each operator can work 1 machine, 2 machines. No one thought of that, they just rushed into it. The backup systems weren't there. Where were the mechanics up to changing the machines quickly when they broke? Was there adequate training? How good was the IE support? Just rushed into it. And also, so I said payment. As I said, the first question anybody will ask you is, you want me to change? Fine. What's in it for me? As I said, the second thing they'll ask is, what's in it for me? You had to have the payment system worked out. And with these sort of systems, you only get one opportunity to implement it. Get it wrong, no one will trust you the second time. And a lot of this is about trust. So the payment systems you had people that were used to coming in, working selfishly under piecework, then being expected to work as a group and contribute to the group output. A lot of brain changing needed going on. Right. My mother worked in the garment industry as a machinist for 40 years on a piecework. I know how her brain went, and I think would have had great difficulty changing her mind. So I know they weren't. But so there is no one size fits all. They were taking, oh, let's do a U shape, everybody standing up, without thinking through, well, maybe that doesn't suit me. Maybe that doesn't suit what we want. And of course, the last one was resistance to change. If I knew the actual secret to overcoming resistance to change, I would have bottled it and retired a multimillionaire years ago. But the biggest thing we found was that, forget the operators. They're okay. They're not going to resist. They're just going to say, what do you want me to do? It was supervisory middle management where the resistance to change occurred, because their position was being threatened. They were asked to change their role. That is where the resistance to change came in, and that was again down to a lot of the preparation. It wasn't explained to them what they're expected to do, and that yes, your job role, we're taking certain responsibilities away from you, but we're opening up other responsibilities for you. It's not a case of negative, it's a case of change. So, as I said, people moved on from modular, onto modular from the progressive bundle system. But to me, there is still a role for the progressive bundle system, and a lot of the things that are blamed on progressive bundle system, high work in progress, high labour turnover, poor quality, these things are not an inevitable consequence. They're down to that system being inadequately managed. Remember I said, what's the cost of incompetence? It's not so much that you're blaming the system, maybe it's the people. And I'm not blaming the people. If someone is not performing correctly, I always say they've got a problem. Right? They don't need a slap, they need a help. Have they got the skills? Have they got the knowledge? Going back to what I was saying earlier about defining roles, defining the basic training needs, the skills and knowledge they need. And so people were blaming progressive bundle systems. It wasn't necessarily that fault. It's a case of people were not capable of running it. So let's go on to what I see. Am I all right for time? Yeah, good. Okay, I'm going at the pace. There'll be questions afterwards. I often see where we're implementing lean. One person, one machine. The first question I ask is why? Why are we doing that? Is it because everybody does it? Is it because we've thought it through? To me, it's impossible to perfectly balance if you use that system. Right. How many operations on a line do you get to equal exactly the takt time? Yeah, very good if you can. I've never managed it. I can get very close on some operations, but the chances of getting dead right. So whenever you don't hit the takt time, there's waste. Lean manufacturing, aggressive minimization of waste, you've got waste there. And an operator sitting in a machine, as I say, is not high utilization, it's high occupancy. We've got to put one operator on a machine because we want the machine to be used. No, you're not. All you're doing is sitting someone's backside on a chair by the side of the machine. The machine isn't working for 60 minutes in an hour because they're waiting for work, because it isn't balanced. So it's not high machine utilization, it's high machine occupancy. We've got a target of 60 an hour. Great. And the operator does 60 an hour. If I see an operator doing target, I know they're underachieving. I know they have the ability to do more. We're restricting them. So that's a factory manager in me. Push, push, push. Sorry, but that's what I'm... So I've said all these are things that these are disadvantages on one person, one machine. But I come back to money. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong if the benefits of using one person, one machine, the very high, the very low WIP, the very quick throughput, if the financial benefits of that outweigh what you're losing on the production, fine. It's all about money. So I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just outlining some of the observations and where we can look at training to help on this process and using this purely as a vehicle. There's the other one. One person, one machine, no work in progress. Let's have one piece each, 2 pieces each, 3 pieces each. It's relatively easy to manage. Put the work in one end, it'll come out the other end. So you've got minimal management training. Relatively easy to implement. And so, once again, it's giving you benefits, but I say at what cost? Now, you may have implemented, because it's relatively easy to implement, you may have implemented it at the start of your lean. Fine, it worked, it was correct, brilliant. That might have been 2 years ago. Where are you now? You can now operate that system. Now we can operate that system. Why not challenge it? Why not change? Why not move forward? Don't stand still. Because nobody else in the world is standing still. I've just been told about the Africa coming up. So why stand still? Let's push. Because at the end of the day, It's costing you money. But I'm always for cost benefit. But you need to assess your lost potential output by using whatever system you're using. Whatever system you're using, assess your lost potential output. Can we improve it? Use your existing system that I've just described. Use it. Can you improve your use of it? Can I train the people better? Let's look at costs. And I do a model on cost of training. And I always say the cost of training, forget the salary of the trainee. It's irrelevant. Forget the cost of the trainer. Irrelevant. Some of the trainers here might say my salary is irrelevant, but right. But to me, the real cost is in the lack of overhead recovery. And let's just take this as a model. 50% of our total cost of a garment is in direct fabric, direct materials. 10% labour, direct labour, 40% overhead. This is a rough guide. So where I'm saying that we're losing standard minutes in production, I'm interested in the fact that how much that standard minute is costing me. Not the minute I've lost. I'm interested in the 4 minutes of overhead that could have been allocated to that minute and I could have recovered. That's what's interesting to me. That's what's costing me money. The big cost. Now let's just take an example. I've got here, well, you can see, I've got one operator working at 50 efficiency. She'll produce so many minutes, he or she produce so many minutes in a month for me. At a 70% efficiency, obviously she produces more. I've lost nearly 2,500 potential minutes of production because my production system is inadequate. I'm not using the right system or I'm not using it effectively. So I've got a loss of nearly 2,500 by my charge-out rate, which there was 5 times the salary. Now, once again, I have to say, I know that. Okay, I accept that I'm working on a lower efficiency. But the system I'm using meets other business objectives. I get my work through very quickly. I have no work in progress. I'm meeting my customer requirements. I'm prepared to say that the savings are greater than the loss. Okay, but do the sums, do the calculation. And I always say when we talk about work in progress, people look at the factory floor. I always say, oh yeah, let's have a look at the total inventory of the business. What percentage of your inventory is actually on the factory floor? And it's only, go to your last stock take figures, that'll tell you. How much had you got in the warehouse? How much had you got in the fabric warehouse? How many redundant trims had you got in the warehouse? The actual work in progress on the factory floor is probably only a minimal part of your actual over, and you've got to finance it all. You finance every bit of inventory in your business. So these are the sort of things that you should be looking at. So I would look at my line, I'd look at the potential output of each operator. It's not difficult. Just a stopwatch for 3 or 4 minutes and you'll know. Compare it with actual. And I said, every standard minute or garment you don't produce, you've lost it forever. Will your current production system allow you to make that jump from 50 to 70? Have a look. Work at it. Think on it. If not, then I've got a business improvement project there, which involves training. So let's put money to it, because I love money. Say I was formerly a senior manager, so if anybody spoke to me about anything, they had to talk money. Otherwise, I wasn't interested. Right? Let's say my operator's earning $110 a month. Well, you can see it there. So I'm expecting them, under my model, to produce, if I pay them 110, I'm expecting them to give me $550 worth of saleable income that I can sell to the customer. Yeah? Making sense or not? If I can get a 40% increase out of them, That's $220 I'm not recovering every month. That's the difference. Now you multiply $220 by the number of operators you've got in your factory, and all of a sudden it's a lot of money. So whereas people will accept a low efficiency, because that's what it is, that's what's there, I say consider it in money. Then is it worth accepting? Is it worth moving forward? Because as soon as you hit your overhead recovery, any further overhead you charge to your customer of an extra garment is pure profit. We all know the only way you make a profit is over recovering overhead. You don't make it on your nominal margins. So what I'm saying is let's look at the systems, let's use training. And what might have been right 12 months ago, 6 months ago, whether it's progressive bundle, whether it's lean, whatever system you're using, if it was right then, does it mean it's right now? Let's evaluate it against your objectives. Let's use money. Revisit it. And I train industrial engineers, and the first thing I say to them is, you accept nothing and you challenge everything. That should be the mindset of the industrial engineer. Should be the mindset of the manager. You don't accept that that system is working correctly. You don't accept it's giving you money. Can I challenge it? Can I improve it? Can I then evaluate it? Is it giving me what I want? And that applies for whatever production system you're using. But of course your people will only do this if they've got the skills and the knowledge. So if you do this as a business improvement initiative, who's going to do it? What's their role going to be? What skills, what knowledge do they need? You may have to invest to accumulate. Okay. Right, so I'm going to move on then and say, at the end of last year, I said at the end of my presentation, which was on management by intervention, I said, if what I've said makes you go back to the factory and challenge anything you're doing, then it's been a success. I'm repeating it. If you go back to your factory and revisit your processes, things have changed. Remember, the tail might be wagging the dog. The production system is dictating what you do. No, you should alter the production system to what you want. Don't let the tail wag the dog. Right? So if anybody leaves here and thinks, think what Paul said, I might check what I'm doing, let's have a strategic review, then my program's been a success. And at that point, thank you. Shukran and Takirti Estuti. I will now hand over.